Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the finance app that's built into a TI nSpire calculator, or if you have like a TI-84, TI-92, one of those, TI-89, it's going to be really similar, with some slight modifications. Okay, so first you need to get into the finance app, and that's where it's different between this calculator and like a TI-84. On this calculator I just do menu, and you can see 8 is finance, and then 1, I want 1 finance solver, and I get this finance solver menu here. If you're on a TI-84, one of those other buttons, you got to hit the apps button on your calculator. It's usually, I think it's a blue or a green button, and then once you hit the apps, you pick the finance app, and once you're in the finance app, you go to finance solver, and you'll get a screen like this. Okay, so one thing, regardless of which Texas Instruments calculator you're using, we want to make sure we have some default settings correct, and these are at the bottom. So if you look at the screen here, the way this basically works is at the top you got N, that's the number of payments, or the number of time periods, depending on whether it's an annuity or a lump sum problem. You got the interest rate. One thing about the interest rate on these financial calculators, you enter it as the actual percentage, not the decimal form of that. So if you're trying to enter 7%, you would type in 7, not 0.07. Next down you see PV, that's present value. The next is PMT, that's the payment, the monthly payment or the quarterly payment, whatever our time interval is. Then FV, future value, of course. And then these next three are what I want to start off talking about. And these are where when you set these, if I can get my calculator to work here. The PPY, that's payments per year, and the CPY, that's compounding periods per year. What I want you to do is set those both equal to 1 as I have them here. We're going to convert our interest rates to a per period interest rate. That's how I'm going to teach you to do it in class. So to be consistent with the way I'm going to teach you to solve these financial problems in class and in the slide deck, set those both equal to 1, and then don't monkey with them after that. At the bottom you see there's also a payment at option, and there's end, or you can have beginning. So are your payments at the end of the month or the beginning of the month? Most of the time our payments are at the end of the month. That's the default. We'll talk about, perpetuities due or annuities due, where the payments are at the beginning. So if you wanted to, you could change that from end to beginning if you do have payments at the beginning of the month. Or you could just take the result that you get with them at the end and multiply by 1 plus R, as we'll talk about in class. Okay, so now that we've make sure you set the PPY and CPY to 1, we're ready to get going here. So I'm going to go back up to the top. So just to give you an example, what you're going to do is you're going to put in all the information you know. Usually there's one unknown, and then depending on which calculator you have, you solve for the unknown. Okay, so I'm going to use as an example from the Chapter 5 slide deck, slide 19. Okay, so Chapter 5 slide deck, slide 19. Go ahead and pause until you dig that up. Okay, so it says if you deposit $10,000 in a bank that offers 10% interest per year, how much will you have in 2 years? Okay, so we're going to start off. We know the number of years, that's our N in this case. So I want to set that equal to 2. And then the interest rate here is 10%. So I just want to enter that as 10. Moving on down. The present value, we're depositing $10,000 today. So I'm going to enter 10,000. I'm actually going to enter negative 10,000. Remember, on a financial calculator or in Excel, you got to distinguish between inflows and outflows with negatives and positives. It doesn't matter whether I put in negative 10,000 here or positive 10,000. The only change is by putting negative 10,000 here, I'm going to get a positive future value. If I put in positive 10,000 here, the calculator would solve for a negative future value. So just interpret it appropriately. Next, a payment. So for lump sum problems in chapter 5, we're just moving a single cash flow through time, the payment's going to be 0. That payment is for like monthly payments on a car loan or recurring payments every time period. And that's not applicable to this problem, so just put in 0. And then future value is what I want to solve for. And so here's where it's a little bit different for each calculator. For my calculator, nSpire, I'm just going to hit enter. And you can see it found that the future value is $12,100, similar to, exactly equal to what we calculated in class. If you're on TI-84 or one of those calculators where you had to hit the apps button to bring it up, instead of, I don't think you have an enter button. Instead, you have a solve, and it's like it's in like green above a button, so you got to hit like the shift button, to get to the solve. But that's what you want to hit. So put your cursor into the future value box and then hit solve. Okay, so that's as easy as it gets. It's a nice way to check. A couple of things is you fill in what you know, and then you solve for the one that you don't know. Not applicable for this problem, but let's say if we had, I'll save it for the next video when we do have monthly payments. Okay, let's do one other problem. I'm going to go to slide 34 in the same slide deck for chapter 5. Okay, so go ahead and go to slide 34 for the chapter 5 slide deck. I'll go ahead and pause till you get there. And it says, now you have been offered investment B. You invest $1,000 today at time 0, and in 10 years' time, t equals 10, you will receive $3,000. What is the annual rate of return on investment B? Okay, so let's start filling in what we know and what we don't know. So I'm going to go up to the top. Here, our T is 10 years. That's the amount of years or time periods between the present value and the future value. The interest rate is what we don't know, so I can either blank that out or just ignore that for now. And then the present value, so I'm investing $1,000 today, so I'm going to enter that as a negative 1,000. Again, payments 0 for the chapter 5 lump sum problems. Our payments don't exist. Those are recurring payments, so keep that at 0. And now we know the future value is $3,000. So here it's really important that I have the present value and the future value have opposite signs. If I put in 1,000, positive 1,000, and positive 3,000, the calculator is going to give me an error message. Same if I put in negative 1,000, negative 3,000, it'd give me an error message. But as long as I have one of them negative and one of them positive, it'll be able to calculate the interest rate. So I put the cursor in the interest rate box, and then on your calculator, either hit enter or solve, depending on which calculator you have. And you can see you get 11.61%, which is consistent with what we covered in class. Okay,